Chapter 11, Noli Me Tangere, A Diagnosis of Filipino Society. A proposal on writing a novel about the Philippines. During the course of Rizal's stay in several European cities, he noted that Filipinos were practically an unknown nation. They were mistaken for Chinese in Spain and Japanese in Paris. Thus, during Paris Exposition of 1889, Rizal encouraged his fellow expatriates to call themselves Indios Bravos for them to have a sense of national identity. Realizing the need for the Filipinos and the country to be known in Europe, Rizal presented a proposal on writing a novel about the Philippines to the Círculo Hispano-Filipino on March 21, 1887. The members of the association unanimously approved this proposal. Unfortunately, however, the project did not materialize because those who were expected to collaborate with Rizal did not write anything on the subject. In addition to this, many of his fellow expatriates were indifferent to the project since they were more interested to write about women. The project died a natural death owing to the foregoing reasons. 1 year after, Pedro Paterno published his novel entitled Ninay with its subtitle Costumbres Filipinas, or Philippine Customs. Rizal was very happy, considering that his purpose was partly fulfilled. Inasmuch as Paterno's novel delved only on one particular aspect of Filipino culture, Rizal became more determined to write his own novel about the Philippines. Idea in writing a novel about the Philippines. One of the ideas that provided Rizal the motivation to write a novel about the Philippines was Luna's Polarium. For Rizal, Luna's canvas conveyed the plight of the vanquished and the pathetic suffering of the human race. Moreover, this polarium was perceived by Rizal as a reflection of the spirit of the social, moral, and political life of his time because it clearly showed mankind under severe ordeal, mankind unredeemed, and reason and aspiration in an open struggle with fanaticism and injustice. This made Rizal write a novel depicting the country to be redeemed from bondage and repression. The Noli Me Tangere can, therefore, be considered as Rizal's Spolarium. Another source of idea for writing a novel about the Philippines was the novel Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe. This novel portrayed the brutalities committed by American slave owners against their Negro slaves. Owing to the beauty and literary style of this novel, Rizal was able to fully comprehend the pathetic conditions of the Negro slaves. Just like Luna's Polarium, this novel provided Rizal the springboard to write a novel portraying vividly the miseries of the Filipinos under the oppressive rule of the Spanish tyrants. A third source of idea for a novel Rizal was then conceptualizing was the anti-clerical novel authored by Eugene Sue, The Wandering Jew, Quirino 1940. This novel made a great impression of Rizal. According to Quirino, the literary form of The Wandering Jew could have probably been used by Rizal as his model to arouse the feeling against the existing Philippine situation and at the same time communicate to the Filipinos the ideals he wanted to embrace. The writing of the Noli Me Tangere. Rizal started writing the Noli Me Tangere in 1884 while he was studying in Europe. He completed one half of the novel in Madrid. 1/4 of the novel was written when he was at Paris, while the remaining 1/4 was completed in Berlin, Germany on February 21, 1887. The novel came off the press on March 21, 1877 with the financial assistance of Maximo Viola. At the outset, the novel was untitled. Later on, he decided to call his first literary masterpiece Noli Me Tangere. Capino et al. 1977. The title can be translated into English as Touch Me Not. The aforementioned label to this novel has a biblical basis as those words were the ones uttered by Jesus Christ to Mary Magdalene when the later visited his tomb before sunrise of Easter Sunday. Rizal deemed it appropriate to use the said title as his novel contained delicate things nobody wanted to talk about or touch during his time. He, therefore, trod where angels fear to tread by exposing the evils of the church and the state, which were hazardous to touch. Why Rizal finally wrote the Noli Me Tangere can be gleaned from the dedication of his novel, which runs as follows.
Author's dedication to my fatherland, recorded in the history of human sufferings, is a cancer of so malignant a character that the least touch irritates it and awakens in it the sharpest pains. Thus, how many times, when in the midst of modern civilizations, I wish to call thee before me, now to accompany me in memories. Now to compare thee with other countries, hath thy dear image presented itself, showing a social cancer like to that other? Desiring thy welfare, wishes our own, and seeking the best treatment, I will do with thee what the ancients did with their sick, exposing them on the steps of the temple, so that everyone who came to invoke the divinity might offer them a remedy. And to this end I will strive to reproduce thy condition faithfully, without discriminations. I will raise a part of the veil that covers the evil, sacrificing to truth everything, even vanity itself, since as thy son I am conscious that I also suffer from thy defects and weaknesses. The author, Europe, 1886.
The plot of the novel. Rizal introduces the character of Juan Crisostomo Ibarra, the only son of the late haciendero Don Rafael Ibarra. Ibarra was near perfect. He is handsome, intelligent, rich, and famous. Upon his return in the Philippines, a celebration was held. A local newspaper even took note of his arrival. A picture of him at the front page bearing the words, "Imitate him." It was nonetheless an arrival fit for a king. Ibarra was full of hopes and desires of a better nation. He was full of new ideas which he learned from his travel in Europe. He felt that with his wealth, power and connections to the illusions, figures of society, he can make a difference. Ibarra has a bright future. He has a beautiful girlfriend named Maria Clara, the daughter of Don Santiago. Maria Clara was a symbolic representation of the ideal Filipino woman, full of grace and royalty. Somehow, Maria Clara's beauty was that of a pure and innocent child. Ibarra could have just settled down, but he wasn't the type of person that would enjoy while others are suffering. He ultimately planned on building a school. With the advice of the philosopher Tasio and the help of prominent local figures including Don Custodio, Ibarra's school was completed. However, during the inauguration of the school, an assassination plot against Ibarra was revealed. Fortunately, he was saved by a mysterious man named Elias. More revelations were unveiled, from the untimely death of his father to the real identity of Maria Clara. On the other hand, Elias approached Ibarra. Elias happens to be the courier of the rebel soldiers. The rebels want government reforms through a violent revolution. However, Ibarra does not bear the same idealism. Later, an uprising was orchestrated by Father Salvi, a Spanish friar who secretly admired Maria Clara. The plot was to make it appear that Ibarra was the mastermind of the revolt. Ibarra was arrested but escaped with the help of Elias. A shooting occurred at the Pasig River with Elias being hit by the bullets. The civil guards thought that they have killed Ibarra, but the latter survived. When the vast wealth and gems he has, Ibarra swore to take revenge to all those who destroyed his life. He swore to free the country even if that will result in the loss of lives. Ibarra went overseas, but he vowed to come back to claim what rightfully belongs to him. Noli me tangere. Kumakatawan sa mga abusadong praile sa panahon ni Rizal. Padre Damaso. Simbolo sa mga Pilipino na nakapag-aral at may maunlad at makabagong isipan. Crisostomo Ibarra. Prangka at totoo, katauhang may huling salita sa lahat ng bagay. Pilosopong Tasio. Kumakatawan sa mga Pilipinong walang pagmamahal sa sariling atin. Doña Victorina. Fransiskanong praile ng San Diego na kasabwat ni Damaso. Padre Sibila. Kanang kamay ni Ibarra, Elias. Ulirang inang nabaliw sa pangungulila sa mga anak, Sisa. Babaeng mababa ang lipad, Salong. Ang mahinhin at mestisang kasintahan ni Ibarra, Maria Clara. With Rizal's Nolly was attacked severely by the establishment, particularly the friars, there were those who tried to prove the merits of the novel and counter the arguments of its attackers.